You're listening to the tones of the NUX MKII BT Mark II desktop modeling amplifier. There's so much packed into this 3-watt affordable practice amplifier. It's absolutely insane, and I'll cover everything in this video. Before we get into it, a huge thank you to the guys from NUX for sending this out for the review. I really appreciate it. If you want to check this out, I'll link it down below. Welcome back, folks. My name's Shane. In today's video, we're checking out this killer little practice amplifier. Now, for the long-term subscribers, you might remember I reviewed the Mark I of this amp, and it was fantastic, and I couldn't believe just the kind of sound you could get out of it at a low volume. And this takes it to the next level. This has so many features. This will be a deep dive review, so we're gonna get stuck into all the different types of tones and how you can use this. And in some ways it will still be scraping the surface because there's kind of like infinite combinations of stuff you can do with it. But just know this is a small desktop amplifier. You can power it via 6 AA batteries in the back here. There's a USB-C port that can also power the unit without batteries in, which is awesome. And it also comes with its own power supply included in the box, which is fantastic. This tiny little amplifier puts out 3 watts through a custom single speaker in the center here, and it does it in a really great way. Now, there are certain limitations with this when you're talking about cranking it up really loudly, but the great news is you can also use this in many of the same ways you could a Boss Katana, for example. You could hook it up as an audio interface and get some of the best tones recorded directly to your computer without actually needing a microphone in front of it. But being that most people buying this will be using it in some sort of practice sense, whether they're streaming music through the Bluetooth connectivity or they're using it with headphones, whatever the case may be, I wanted to sort of mic it up for the majority of this video to give you a good sense of not only its strengths, but some of the times where it might struggle if I'm cranking out the volume. But this thing sounds so good, and if you work within its volume limitations, it's an absolute monster. Let's kick things off by going through a handful of the 21 amplifier models built into this. There's 21. I'm not going to go through all of them, but I'll give you a good overview of the different tones you can get, from clean to off clean, all the way through to some of the heavier tones, starting with the jazz clean. Here we go, neck pickup. It's a beautiful clean tone. I dig it. Over to the deluxe reverb. That feels like the actual amplifier. It's pretty wild. Over to the bass mate, which is based on a basement. So this is great for that sort of classic rock kind of stuff, or you can do blues, whatever you want to do. Have a listen to this. That's that old school classic rock style sound. Over to a great sounding Vox tone. I'm going to be on the neck pickup. Now the cool thing about this is we get a gain control and a cut control like the actual modern versions of the Vox that have that top boost channel. So this is really cool. Let's have a listen to this on neck pickup. It's got that gnarliness there. It's pretty wild. Up next is the Plexi 45, and I've dialed it in very reminiscent to how this big amplifier behind it sounds. So this is the old school Marshall blues breaker kind of sound, and not the high gain kind of JCM 800, which we'll get to in just a moment. But have a listen to this. Yeah, all right. And now we're over to the high gain Marshall tone. This is the Brit 800. This is great for both rhythm and lead. Let's take a listen to this. Notice when I turn down, it cleans up like an actual valve amp. Turn it back up. So you still get full dynamics even with some of the high gain tones. This next one's called Fireman HBE, which I think is based on a Friedman, and Friedman is kind of based on a Marshall. Anyway, have a listen to this. It sounds pretty wild for both rhythm and lead guitar stuff. Plenty of attitude, I dig it. And lastly, over to the Soldano SL0100 sound. This is a really thick and meaty sounding lead or rhythm tone. I really dig this. Cleans up beautifully, back up. Yeah, all right, so there's plenty to choose from. It's really full of great options. All right, let's get into some of the stomp boxes, starting with the Overdrive, Distortion, and Fuzz tones on the Fender Deluxe Reverb preset. I've changed the reverb on the Fender Deluxe Reverb now to a spring with a nice amount of decay. It sounds very reminiscent to the actual amplifier. So this is the clean tone to begin with, and then we're going to turn on a tube screamer. It might be just clipping the amplifier's maximum output here, so I'm going to back down the level slightly. So there's no speaker distortion right there, and that sounds really reminiscent of that amp with that effect, which is always a good thing. Now, if you're a blues player, you'll love the fact that we get a blues driver, and it sounds awesome once you wind down the tone control. Stock, it was just a little bit too bright, but have a listen to the tone of this. Beautiful. This next one's great if you're a big fan of the ZZ Top sound. This is a crunch stomp box. I'm going to start with my volume control down. Volume control up. Yeah, that's a great combination. And lastly, while we're still in that Fender clean tone, I've dialed in the big Muff Fuzz. Have a listen. Yeah, all right. Over to a couple of the boost stomp boxes, and I'm going to use the Soldano 100. I've backed the gain off so you can get a good sense of how the boosts interact with the dirty tone. All right, this is with the RC boost on. I mean, that's awesome. That really just brightens it up because I've got the treble at 50% and also gives us more gain and more volume. So it's doing exactly what it should. That's great. Let's try the Rose compressor now going into that Soldano. Again, I'm going to start with it off so you can hear the difference. Here we go. That's doing exactly what a compressor does. So as I dig in, I'm losing my dynamics, but it's giving me an overall louder signal coming out. So whether I play soft or hard, it sort of limits the dynamics, but it's giving me much more sustain, and it works exactly like it should. I can feel the difference in my playing. Let's go through each of the modulation effects. I'm not going to talk much through this section. I'm just going to play the same two chords so you can get a good sense of what this is capable of. Now there's 11 different types, so hang in there and you'll see everything on screen. Here we go. How musical is that last one? I want that in a pedal. I'm going to find out what that is. But man, these are all extremely musical, and if you're recording or you just want some classic modulation effects, you've got them. Over to the time-based effects, starting with the delays now, and you can tap tempo all of these. This is my starting tone on the bridge pickup using the Fireman HBE. So that's with just a little bit of reverb. Let's turn the analog delay on. Digital. Yeah. Tap tempo it nice and slow. Tap it nice and fast. So there you go. You can also change the mix if you don't want it as prominent, but I'll leave it where it is. Over to the modulation delay, which is analog and modulation together. It's got a bit of a chorus thing going on. It's really musical. Over to tape delay. Yeah. And this last one's called PHI delay. Let's take a listen to this. Yeah, all right. Let's go through each of the reverb effects now. I'm going to start with it off and then we'll go over to the damp delay. Here we go. So dead dry. Here we go. So these work great. You will have to sort of customize each of them to work at their best setting, especially for your particular type of tone. But yeah, some of them sound better with the level down, some sound better with the level up. You get your decay control, which controls how long it hangs around for, and you get some really musical tones. I'll just show you one more with the decay up here. That's a room delay. That would have probably have sounded better on something like the Hall or the Plate. So let's give that a go. Great, let's turn the level up. Let's turn the decay up so it's going to linger around longer. Yeah, all right. We also get a noise gate. This will come in handy if you're playing with a lot of gain or you've got a single coil guitar that tends to get a lot of buzz. So what I'm going to do is just unmute my strings here, turn the volume control up, and then turn the gate on. Completely mutes the guitar. Back off. I can hear that buzz. And back on. Beautiful. The NUX MKII BT Mark II has a full-blown drum machine in it. You can either stop and start it via the amp or the app. So I'm just going to go through a few of the standard rhythms. I'm not going to deep dive into this, but if you want to, you can use the app. Here we go. Now each of these presets has a whole subdivision of presets as well, so there's plenty built into this to keep most people happy. Now if you want an all-in-one recording solution, this can also act as an audio interface. So I've got it connected to my iMac in GarageBand, just straight out of the USB-C port on the back, which also powers the amplifier. And then thanks to the app, you can set your input and output volume to your computer and then get this to work and record. So these are the kind of tones you can get without having to mic it up or anything. This should sound better in theory than having the mic in front of it, just based on what I know about other amplifiers like this. Let's have a listen. So there's some sample tones right there, just recording directly from the NUX as an audio interface into the computer. Now I can hear the sound coming out of the speaker built into this, and I can set it up at any volume and then have it go out into my computer just to get some great tones recorded. Now the cool thing is we get 4 different modes. We get reamp if you want to reamp a sound that you've already recorded. We get normal, which is what it's on, normal and loop back, and dry out. So if you just want a dry recording, you can get that as well. So there's plenty of different options thanks to this great little app. Let's wrap this video up. I'm gonna give you my final thoughts on the NUX MKII BT Mark II desktop modeling amplifier. I had to read that off the box, I cheated. This thing is an absolute beast. If you're looking for a home practice amplifier that you can put on the desk, there's not gonna be a better choice than this at its price. I think these represent some really great value. And again, I always leave prices and so forth down in the description. You can check it out in your part of the world down there. So at the end of the day, what do I think of this? For its size and for its flexibility, it's amazing. It's got some really great tones, and you heard it mostly just mic'd up here in the room. Now there are some limitations with this amplifier. I think the biggest limitation is the size of the speaker. Once you start stacking overdrive, distortions, or whatever onto an already loud clean or dirty tone, you will hear some speaker distortion. You just have to back off the master volume a little bit. But I love the fact you can get a great sound at a moderate to low volume and still have it sound great if you're recording with a microphone, or if you just want to jam back via your mobile phone, stream some music to it. It does all the Bluetooth functionality that you'd expect, so you can stream a backing track and jam along, and the backing track stays nice and clean while you've got the dirtiest tone ever, or whatever tone you choose to dial in. So it's full of great functionality. The drum machine has just about every other option under the sun. We also get a hardware control to turn the volume up and down, tap tempo, all that kind of stuff. And once you save your presets in here, you're good to go. I was shocked just how great it recorded as a USB audio interface. It's unbelievable. I kind of feel like that's cheating when it comes to one of these your little units. I mean, why would you buy something 3 or 4 times the price when you can have all the great tones recorded to your computer via this? This is unreal, and it works on battery, USB-C port, power supply or power delivery sort of thing, or you can just hook it up to a computer and use it that way. There's so much to like about this. A massive thanks to the guys from NUX for sending this out for the review. I really appreciate it. Again, much like the original that I reviewed many years ago, this would be an absolute no-brainer for the right customer. Thanks again. Catch you soon. See ya.